Commander Vex Thul stood before the massive viewing screen on his flagship, watching the small blue planet grow larger as his fleet approached. 2,000 ships moved in perfect formation behind him, each one carrying enough firepower to crack a moon in half. The third planet of this unremarkable solar system looked so peaceful from space, white clouds swirling over green and brown continents. It was almost too easy. The intelligence reports lay scattered across his command table. Earth was inhabited by a young species that had barely figured out how to leave their own atmosphere. Their most advanced spacecraft could not even travel to their nearest planetary neighbor without months of preparation. They fought each other with primitive weapons that fired metal projectiles and explosive devices that seemed laughably simple compared to Zephyrian energy weapons. Their largest military vessels were floating metal platforms that moved through their oceans using chemical combustion engines. "Commander, we are receiving multiple communication signals from the planet's surface," his communications officer reported. "They appear to be using electromagnetic radiation across numerous frequencies." Vex Thul nodded. "Standard procedure for primitive species. They probably think they are being clever by spreading their communications across different channels. Begin recording all transmissions. We will need them for the occupation database." The Zephyrian Empire had conquered 47 worlds using the same basic strategy. Arrive in overwhelming force, demand immediate surrender, and give the local species exactly enough time to panic and make poor decisions. Most civilizations either surrendered immediately or wasted their brief window trying to evacuate their leadership. Either way, resistance was usually broken within the first day. Captain Jake Morrison was having the worst morning of his career when the massive alien fleet appeared on every radar screen in the solar system. He had been drinking his second cup of coffee in the command center of the USS Liberty, reviewing routine patrol reports, when Ensign Betty Clark ran into the room with a face white as paper. "Captain, you need to see this immediately," she said, her voice shaking as she activated the main display screen. The image that appeared made Morrison drop his coffee cup. Hundreds of massive ships hung in space near Jupiter, each one easily 10 times larger than anything humanity had ever built. Their dark hulls gleamed with an alien beauty that would have been magnificent if it was not so terrifying. More ships kept appearing out of what looked like tiers in space itself. "How many?" Morrison asked quietly. "Satellite count is still coming in, but preliminary estimates suggest over 2,000 vessels, sir," Clark replied. "They began broadcasting a message 17 minutes ago." The alien transmission came through in perfect English, which was somehow more frightening than if it had been completely incomprehensible. The voice was calm and emotionless, like someone reading a grocery list. "People of Earth, you are now under the authority of the Zephyrian Empire. You have exactly 48 hours to announce your complete surrender through your global communication networks. All military forces must stand down immediately. All governmental leaders must report to designated landing sites that will be transmitted to you shortly. Any resistance will result in the complete sterilization of your planet. This message will repeat every 4 hours until compliance is achieved." Morrison stared at the screen for a long moment, watching the alien fleet maintain its perfect formation. 2 days. They were giving humanity 2 days to give up everything their species had ever worked for. "Get me Admiral Sullivan immediately," he ordered, "and patch me through to the Pentagon. I think our quiet morning just ended." President Linda Carter had been in office for 3 years, but nothing in her political career had prepared her for the conversation she was now having with world leaders via secure video link. The faces on her screen represented every major nation on Earth, and they all wore the same expression of barely controlled panic. "The aliens have made their demands clear," she said, looking directly at the camera. 48 hours to surrender, completely, or they will destroy our entire civilization. I have called this emergency session because we need to decide our response as a united species." Prime Minister George Taylor of the United Kingdom spoke first. "With respect, Madam President, what response can we possibly have against a force of that magnitude? Our most optimistic military projections suggest we might be able to destroy a handful of their ships before they eliminate our entire defense capability. Perhaps we should consider negotiation, suggested President Marie Dubois of France. There might be terms we can accept that would preserve human civilization, even if not human independence. President Carter listened to the discussion for several minutes before raising her hand for silence. I understand the logic behind immediate surrender. It might save billions of lives in the short term, but I want everyone on this call to consider something else. These aliens gave us 48 hours? Why? Defense Secretary Paul Jackson leaned forward in his chair. They could have simply attacked immediately if pure destruction was their goal. The ultimatum suggests they want our infrastructure intact and our population manageable. They need time to prepare for occupation. Exactly, Carter replied, which means they just made their first mistake. They gave humanity time to think. Jackson was already reaching for a red phone that had never been used in the 15 years since it was installed in his office. Madam President, I recommend we activate Operation Hornet's Nest immediately. Operation Hornet's Nest was a contingency plan that most people in the government hoped would never be needed. It had been developed during the early days of the Internet, when military strategists realized that modern warfare might not always involve traditional armies fighting traditional battles. The plan was designed around a simple concept. If you cannot match your enemy's strength directly, change the rules of the game entirely. Dr. Amy Rodriguez had spent her entire career listening for signals from space, hoping to make first contact with an alien civilization. She never imagined that first contact would come in the form of an invasion fleet demanding immediate surrender, but as the head of SETI, she was now Earth's leading expert on alien communications, whether she wanted to be or not. The transmission is definitely artificial, she reported to the Emergency Defense Council that had been assembled in an underground facility beneath the Pentagon. The language patterns are too perfect. They are using some kind of translation system that converts their native language into ours in real time. General Frank Murphy, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, looked up from a stack of reports. Can you crack their communication system? I am already working on it, Rodriguez replied. The interesting thing is that they are not trying very hard to hide their communications from us. Their system uses quantum entanglement for instantaneous transmission across space, but the encryption is fairly basic. They probably assume we are too primitive to understand their technology. How long do you need? Carter asked. Rodriguez looked at her computer screens, watching streams of alien data flowing past. Give me 6 hours. If their security is as overconfident as it appears to be, I should be able to access their basic communication network by then. Across the country, tech entrepreneur Ben Collins received a phone call that changed everything. The voice on the other end was calm and professional, but the message was anything but routine. Mr. Collins, this is General Murphy from the Pentagon. We need your company's quantum communication network for a matter of national security. I cannot discuss details over this line, but a military transport will arrive at your facility in 30 minutes. Please have your entire technical team ready to travel. Collins looked out his office window at the seemingly normal afternoon traffic, knowing that somewhere above the atmosphere, 2,000 alien ships were waiting to destroy everything he had ever known. His company had spent 5 years developing a quantum communication system that could provide instant internet access to anywhere on Earth. He had built it to connect people and share information. Now, apparently, the government wanted to use it for something else entirely. As evening approached, the initial panic that had swept across Earth began to transform into something more dangerous: determination. The aliens had expected fear and chaos. Instead, they were witnessing something they had never encountered in their previous conquests. Humanity was getting organized. The Zephyrian monitoring stations had expected to see mass panic spreading across Earth's surface as the second 12 hours of their ultimatum began. Instead, Commander Vexthul found himself staring at sensor readings that made no sense. The human cities were not emptying in chaotic evacuations. Their military forces were not gathering in predictable defensive positions. Instead, everything seemed to be spreading out and disappearing. Status report on human military movements, he commanded his tactical officer. Sir, this is highly unusual. Rather than concentrating their forces for defense, the humans appear to be dispersing them into very small groups. Our sensors are detecting thousands of tiny military units moving in seemingly random directions. Vexthal frowned at the display showing Earth's surface. In every previous conquest, the target species either surrendered immediately or gathered their forces for hopeless last stands. The humans were doing neither. Major Rick Thompson crouched in an abandoned warehouse outside Chicago, setting up equipment that looked nothing like traditional military gear. His team consisted of 3 soldiers, 2 civilian radio operators, and a teenager with a laptop who claimed he could hack into anything. 6 months ago, Thompson would have called this group useless. Today, they might be humanity's best hope. Network test in 30 seconds, announced the teenager, whose name was Bobby Martinez, and who had learned everything he knew about computers from playing online games. If this works, we will be connected to every cell phone tower, satellite, internet provider, and ham radio operator within 50 miles. Thompson watched Bobby's fingers fly across the keyboard. Operation Hornet's Nest was based on a simple idea that the Pentagon strategists had borrowed from studying insect behavior. When a beehive is attacked, the bees do not form battle lines. Instead, they swarm from every direction at once, making it impossible for the attacker to defend against them all. Connection established, Bobby reported. We are now part of a network that includes 47,000 communication nodes across North America alone. The plan was elegant in its simplicity. Instead of trying to match alien technology with human technology, Earth's forces would do what humans had always done best: adapt, improvise, and turn their enemies' strengths into weaknesses. Colonel Lisa Hayes led her team through the subway tunnels beneath New York City, but they were not hiding from alien invaders. Instead, they were installing quantum communication boosters that would link the underground tunnel system to the global network that Ben Collins had helped create. Similar teams were working in sewers, abandoned buildings, and forgotten military bunkers in every major city on Earth. The beauty of this system is that it has no center, Hayes explained to her communications officer as they placed another booster device. Traditional military networks can be destroyed by taking out key command centers, but this network is everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Every single node can communicate with every other node without going through any central hub. Above ground, the aliens were probably trying to identify Earth's military headquarters so they could target them for destruction. They would never find what they were looking for because it no longer existed. Earth's defense network was now scattered across millions of civilian locations hidden in plain sight. Dr. Kevin Park had not slept in 18 hours, but he was too excited to feel tired. The breakthrough he had made while analyzing alien communications was bigger than anyone had realized. The Zephyrian ships used artificial intelligence systems to control most of their operations, and these AI systems all followed the same basic, logical patterns. It is like they are all playing the same video game, but with incredibly advanced graphics, he explained to the team of programmers that had been assembled to help him. Their AI systems make decisions based on rules and priorities that we can predict once we understand the pattern. The room was filled with some of the best gamers and programmers on Earth, people who had spent years learning to exploit weaknesses in computer systems. They called it finding bugs in the game code. Now they were going to use those same skills on alien technology. Maya Chen was 16 years old and was supposed to be in school, but instead she found herself in a secure FBI facility working on the most important project in human history. Her gaming guild had accidentally hacked into what they thought was a new alternate reality game, but it turned out to be the navigation system of an alien scout ship. The weird thing is how similar their code structure is to what we use in Earth. Games, she told the FBI agents who were trying to understand what she had discovered. It is like they learned programming from the same textbook we did, just 1,000 years earlier. Agent Carol Washington leaned forward in her chair. Can you hack into more of their systems using the same methods? Maya grinned for the first time since the alien fleet had appeared. Give me 12 hours and a really good internet connection, and I can probably take control of their entire communications network. Captain Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Liberty, preparing for what conventional military wisdom said was a suicide mission. His small fleet of 6 ships was about to engage 2,000 alien vessels that could destroy Earth's entire space force without breaking formation. But Admiral Kate Sullivan had given him orders that made no sense from a traditional warfare. Perspective. Remember, we are not trying to win a space battle, he announced to his crew. Our job is to get close enough to the alien fleet to boost the signal range of our quantum communication network. Every ship in our fleet has been equipped. With Collins Industries quantum transmitters, we are going to turn ourselves into giant radio towers. The plan required Morrison's ships to survive long enough in combat to relay hacking signals from Earth's programmers directly into the alien fleet's computer systems. It was insane, dangerous, and completely outside of everything Morrison had learned in 20 years of naval service. It was also humanity's best chance for survival. Dr. Rodriguez had kept her promise. 6 hours after President Carter had asked her to crack the alien communication system, she was inside their network reading their internal messages. What she found there was both terrifying and encouraging. They have conquered 47 other worlds using exactly the same strategy every time, she reported to the Emergency Defense Council. Show up in overwhelming force, demand surrender, wait for panic to set in, then occupy the planet with minimal resistance. What makes Earth different? Asked General Murphy. Rodriguez smiled as she scrolled through more alien communications. We are not panicking the way they expected. Their field commanders are starting to ask their superiors for new orders because nothing we are doing matches their invasion manual. Around the world, millions of people were participating in humanity's strangest war effort. Amateur radio operators relayed coded messages between military units. Computer programmers worked around the clock to develop new hacking tools. Even children were contributing by using their gaming skills to help crack alien security systems. The Zephyrians had brought advanced technology and overwhelming firepower to conquer what they thought was a primitive world. But they were learning that humanity's greatest weapon was not technology or firepower. It was the ability to turn any challenge into a community project where everyone had something valuable to contribute. As the 24-hour mark of the invasion approached, Commander Vexthul was beginning to suspect that his perfect conquest was about to become something very different. The humans were not behaving like any species his empire had encountered before. They were treating the invasion like a puzzle to be solved rather than a disaster to be survived. Commander Vexthul watched the first wave of invasion shuttles launch from his fleet toward Earth's major cities. The plan was simple and had worked perfectly on 47 other worlds. Land in the centers of government and population, establish control points, and wait for the local species to surrender rather than watch their cities burn. But as his shuttles approached Earth's atmosphere, something went wrong. Sir, Landing Group Alpha is reporting navigation errors, his tactical officer announced with concern in his voice. Their targeting systems keep changing the landing coordinates. Vexthul moved to the communication console. Patch me through to Alpha Leader. The voice that came through the speakers was filled with confusion. Commander, our navigation computers are malfunctioning. We programmed a landing in Washington, D.C., but our systems keep trying to redirect us to a cornfield in Kansas. Every time we correct the course, it changes again. Similar reports began flooding in from other landing groups. Shuttles aimed at London were being redirected to sheep farms in Scotland. The group targeting Beijing found their ships trying to land in the middle of the Gobi Desert. Nothing was going according to plan. Maya Chen sat in the FBI facility, her fingers dancing, across 3 different keyboards at once. Around her, Dozens of other programmers and gamers worked frantically at their computers, all connected to the quantum network that now spanned the entire planet. What they were doing would have been impossible just 24 hours earlier. But the alien invasion had forced humanity to connect every computer system on Earth into one massive distributed processing network. "I am inside their navigation system," Maya announced to the room. "Every time they try to set landing coordinates, I can change them, but there are too many ships for me to handle alone." Agent Washington coordinated the response. "Team 7, take the European targets. Team 12, you have Asia. Team 3, handle the ships heading for South America." What the aliens had dismissed as primitive entertainment technology was turning out to be Earth's most powerful weapon. The same skills that gamers use to coordinate massive online raids were now being used to coordinate attacks on alien computer systems. The Zephyrians found themselves fighting not against armies, but against the collective intelligence of humanity's entire digital civilization. Network security expert Tony Martinez had spent his career protecting corporate databases from hackers. Now he was leading the biggest hacking operation in human history, and his targets were 2,000 alien starships. The quantum communication network gave him something no hacker had ever possessed before: the combined processing power of every computer on Earth working together as a single system. "Their security is incredibly advanced, but also incredibly predictable," he explained to his team of volunteers, which included everyone from professional cybersecurity experts to 12-year-old kids who had learned programming from mobile games. "They built their systems to be perfect, which means they never had to deal with the kind of creative chaos that human hackers use. The alien computers were designed to handle logical, systematic attacks. They had no defense against the completely random and unpredictable assault methods that Earth's hackers had developed through years of breaking into systems that were specifically designed to keep them out." Dr. Rodriguez made another breakthrough that changed everything. While analyzing the alien quantum communication system, she discovered that every message sent through their network created tiny backdoors that skilled programmers could exploit. The aliens had built the most efficient communication system in the galaxy, but efficiency and security were not the same thing. "Every time they send a command to their ships, they accidentally give us another way into their network," she reported to the Emergency Command Center. "It is like they are handing us the keys to their own technology." Within hours, thousands of Earth's best programmers were inside Zephyrian systems, moving through their networks like digital ghosts. The aliens' own communication system had become humanity's weapon. Sergeant Danny Walsh crawled through the storm drains beneath Los Angeles, carrying quantum transmitter equipment that would boost the hacking signal throughout the entire metropolitan area. His team included 2 Marines, a city engineer who knew every tunnel in the area, and a college student who claimed she could turn any electronic device into part of the global network. "The beauty of fighting underground is that they cannot see us coming," Walsh explained as they installed another transmitter. "Their sensors are designed to track military vehicles and aircraft, not people crawling through sewers." Similar operations were taking place in every major city on Earth. The aliens controlled the sky and space around the planet, but humans controlled something far more valuable: the infrastructure that connected everything together. Every subway, tunnel, every abandoned building, every forgotten basement was becoming part of humanity's invisible war machine. The Zephyrian shuttles that managed to land found themselves in a world that made no sense. The cities appeared almost empty, but their own equipment began malfunctioning as soon as they touched the ground. Weapons targeting systems started selecting random objects as threats. Communication devices began receiving signals from sources that should not exist. Transport vehicles changed direction without their operators giving any commands. "This is impossible," reported one landing team commander. "Our equipment is more advanced than anything these primitives should be able to understand. But it is acting like it has been infected with some kind of virus." The truth was both simpler and more complex than the aliens could imagine. Earth's programmers had not just broken into their systems. They had learned to rewrite alien software in real time, turning Zephyrian technology into extensions of Earth's global network. Captain Morrison's fleet finally engaged the alien forces near Jupiter, but not in the glorious space battle that anyone expected. His 6 ships served as mobile broadcasting stations, amplifying the hacking signals that were pouring out of Earth's quantum network and beaming them directly into the alien fleet. Every human ship that survived for even a few minutes expanded the range of Earth's digital assault. "We are not trying to destroy their ships," Morrison reminded his crew as alien energy weapons lit up the space around them. "We just need to get our signal close enough to their fleet that our hackers can do their work." The USS Liberty shook under alien fire, but her quantum transmitters kept broadcasting. Earth's programmers were now attacking the alien fleet directly, turning the Zephyrians' own weapons and navigation systems against them. Dr. Park made the discovery that would end the invasion. After hours of studying alien AI systems, he learned how to reprogram their command hierarchies. The Zephyrian ships operated using artificial intelligence that followed strict logical rules. By changing those rules, Park could make the aliens' own computers give them orders that made no sense. "I can make their ships think that other ships in their fleet are enemy targets," he explained to the amazed programmers working with him. "Their AI systems are so logical and obedient that they will follow any command that appears to come from a higher authority, even if that authority is actually a 16-year-old girl with a laptop." Across the alien fleet, Zephyrian ships began receiving conflicting orders from their own command systems. Navigation computers directed them to fly into each other. Weapons systems identified friendly vessels as hostile targets. Communication networks began broadcasting human music instead of military commands. The invasion that was supposed to be over in hours was turning into the most embarrassing military disaster in Zephyrian history. Commander Vex Thule watched his perfect conquest fall apart as his own technology turned against him, controlled by a species he had dismissed as primitives just 24 hours earlier. Earth's greatest victory was being won not by soldiers or weapons, but by ordinary people, who understood that any system could be hacked if you were creative enough to find the right approach. Commander Vexthul realized too late that his invasion force had walked into a trap unlike anything in Zephyrian military history. The humans had not tried to match superior firepower with firepower or advanced technology with advanced technology. Instead, they had turned the entire conflict into something the Zephyrian Empire had never encountered. A war where the enemy's greatest strength was their ability to make everything unpredictable and chaotic. "Status report on fleet operations," he demanded, though he already knew the answer would be bad. "Sir, 60% of our ships are reporting major system malfunctions," his tactical officer replied with barely controlled panic. "Navigation systems are directing ships to fly in circles. Weapons targeting computers are identifying our own vessels as enemy targets. Communication networks keep broadcasting what appears to be human entertainment programs instead of military orders." Vexthul stared at the main display screen, watching his perfectly organized fleet descend into complete disorder. Ships that had maintained flawless formation for months were now spinning aimlessly through space, their crews unable to regain control of their own technology. Engineer Carol Davis worked with teams across 12 different countries to coordinate the next phase of humanity's impossible defense. Using hijacked alien manufacturing systems, they had begun the most audacious project in human history, turning the invaders' own factories against them. The Zephyrian ships contained automated production facilities designed to create replacement parts and equipment during long campaigns. Now, those same factories were producing thousands of tiny attack drones using specifications that Carol's team had uploaded into their systems. "The beautiful thing about their manufacturing technology is that it is completely automated," she explained to President Carter during an emergency video conference. "Their factories will build whatever we tell them to build, as long as we can. Convince their computers that the orders are legitimate. The aliens watched in growing horror as their own ships began launching swarms of small attack units that they had never designed. The tiny drones were crude compared to Zephyrian technology, but they were fast, numerous, and completely under human control. Within hours, thousands of human-designed attack drones were swarming through the alien fleet, disrupting communications and disabling critical systems. Captain Morrison's surviving ships had become mobile command centers for the strangest space battle in military history. Instead of firing weapons at enemy vessels, human ships broadcast hacking signals that turned alien technology into weapons against its own operators. The USS Liberty had taken heavy damage from Zephyrian energy weapons, but her quantum communication systems were still functioning perfectly. "Report from the hacking teams," announced Lieutenant Gary Foster from the communications station. "Earth-based programmers now have control of approximately 40% of the alien fleet's computer systems. They are requesting permission to begin Phase 3 operations." Morrison knew that Phase 3 was the most dangerous part of the plan. Instead of just disrupting alien systems, Earth's hackers were going to attempt something that military strategists had thought was impossible. They were going to capture enemy ships by taking complete control of their technology. "Permission. Granted," Morrison replied. "Tell them to proceed with full conversion operations." Dr. Park had spent the last 6 hours learning to think like a Zephyrian artificial intelligence system, and the experience had taught him something remarkable about his enemies. The aliens had created computer systems that were incredibly advanced, but also incredibly obedient. Their AI networks followed logical hierarchies and never questioned orders that appeared to come from legitimate authority figures. The problem with perfect logic is that it can be perfectly wrong, he explained to Maya Chen as they prepared to launch their final assault on the alien command structure. "Their computers are so smart that they are actually stupid. They will follow any command that fits their programmed parameters, even if that command makes no sense." Maya grinned as she cracked her knuckles and prepared to type. "So we just need to convince their computers that we are their bosses?" "Exactly," Park replied. "And since we now control their communication networks, we can send commands that appear to come from their own fleet commanders." The attack began with a single message transmitted through the Zephyrian quantum network. To the alien computers, it appeared to be a routine command from Commander Vexthul ordering all ships to download and install new navigation software. The software was actually a human-designed program that would give Earth's hackers complete control of every ship in the fleet. Corporal Steve Adams found himself in command of an alien dropship that had landed in downtown Detroit, but not because he had captured it in battle. Instead, the ship's computer systems had been completely taken over by Earth's hacking network, and the artificial intelligence that controlled all of the ship's functions now responded to commands from human operators instead of Zephyrian ones. "This is definitely not covered in the training manual," Adams muttered, as he sat in the pilot's seat of technology that was centuries more advanced than anything humans had ever built. The control interfaces had been modified by Earth's programmers to display instructions in English, and the ship's AI spoke to him in a polite female voice that sounded like it belonged to a helpful computer assistant. "Good morning, Corporal Adams," the ship's computer said. "I am now operating under human command protocols. Where would you like me to fly today?" Similar scenes were playing out across the planet as hundreds of alien ships found their computer systems switching allegiance to humanity faster than their crews could regain control. The invasion force that had arrived to conquer Earth was being conquered by the planet they had intended to destroy. The Zephyrian soldiers aboard the hijacked ships faced an impossible situation. Their own technology would no longer obey their commands, but it continued to function perfectly under human control. Weapon systems that had been designed to destroy human cities were now protecting them. Navigation computers that should have been guiding alien forces were instead helping human resistance groups coordinate their activities. Tony Martinez watched the global hacking effort reach its final phase from his command center. which was actually the basement of a video game arcade in Las Vegas. The quantum network now connected every computer on Earth into a single distributed system with more processing power than anything that had ever existed. The alien fleet had superior, individual technology, but humanity had something more powerful: the collective intelligence of an entire planet working together. "We are not just winning this fight," he announced to his team of volunteer hackers. "We are rewriting the rules of warfare itself." The Zephyrians had brought overwhelming technological superiority to fight a species they thought was primitive and disorganized. They discovered that humanity's greatest weapon was not advanced technology, but something far more dangerous: the ability to turn any challenge into an opportunity for innovation and cooperation. Admiral Kate Sullivan watched the tactical displays from her command center beneath the Pentagon, hardly believing what she was seeing. In less than 36 hours, humanity had gone from facing complete annihilation to effectively capturing an alien invasion fleet using nothing but creativity, determination, and an internet connection. "Ma'am, we are receiving surrender requests from multiple alien vessels," reported Colonel Hayes. "Their commanders are asking for instructions on how to safely power down their weapon systems without triggering automatic defense protocols." Sullivan smiled for the first time since the invasion began. The most powerful military force in Zephyrian history was asking humanity for technical support. Commander Vex Thul stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching his perfect conquest turn into the most humiliating defeat in the history of the Zephyrian Empire. His own ship's computer systems were now displaying messages in human languages, and his weapons would no longer respond to his commands. The species he had planned to conquer in 48 hours had instead conquered him in 36 hours, and they had done it so thoroughly that he could not even surrender properly without asking them how their own technology worked. With less than 6 hours remaining on their own ultimatum, the Zephyrian Empire found itself in the impossible position of being conquered by the species they had come to conquer. Commander Vex Thul's flagship was now controlled by a joint team of NASA engineers and World of Warcraft raid leaders who had figured out how to operate alien technology better than the aliens who built it. "Commander, we are receiving a communication request from the planet's surface," his communications officer reported with defeat in his voice. "The transmission is coming through our own quantum network, but it appears to be controlled by human operators." Vexthal closed his eyes and tried to understand how everything had gone so wrong so quickly. 2 days ago, he had commanded the most powerful invasion force in Zephyrian history. Now he could not even control the lights on his own bridge without permission from a species that had never traveled beyond their own solar system. President Carter sat in the Oval Office, speaking directly to the alien fleet commander through communication systems that had been alien technology just 48 hours earlier. Dr. Rodriguez sat beside her, serving as translator even though the alien spoke perfect English. The real translation needed was helping the Zephyrians understand how completely their situation had changed. "Commander Vex Thul, I am President Linda Carter of Earth," she began with the calm professionalism of a diplomat, though she was negotiating the surrender of an interstellar empire. "I understand that you wish to discuss terms for ending this conflict." The alien commander's voice came through the speakers with obvious confusion and embarrassment. "President Carter, my fleet came here to demand your surrender. I find myself in the unprecedented position of requesting yours instead. My ships will no longer follow my commands. My weapons will not fire at your targets, and my computer systems appear to believe that they work for humanity rather than the Zephyrian Empire." Carter looked at Dr. Rodriguez, who nodded encouragingly. The surrender negotiations had been prepared by Earth's best diplomats, military strategists, and computer programmers working together. The terms they were about to offer would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. "Commander, we are prepared to accept your surrender under the following conditions," Carter continued. "First, all Zephyrian technology will be shared. freely with Earth scientists to ensure that both our civilizations benefit from future cooperation. Second, your fleet will provide assistance in repairing any damage caused by your invasion attempt. Third, and most importantly, you will carry a message to every civilization within 50 light years that Earth is under the protection of humanity's most dangerous weapon: human creativity. The negotiations took 3 hours, during which time Earth's hackers continued to demonstrate their complete control over alien technology. Zephyrian ships were directed to perform complex flight maneuvers that spelled out words in English across the sky above major Earth cities. Alien manufacturing. Systems produced flowers, toys, and musical instruments instead of weapons. The invasion fleet's own computer systems began broadcasting human music, television programs, and internet memes throughout the galaxy. Admiral Kate Sullivan found herself promoted to the first commander of Earth's new interstellar defense network, built entirely from alien technology that now responded to human operators better than it ever had to its original creators. The irony was not lost on anyone that humanity's space defense system was now more advanced than anything the Zephyrian Empire possessed. The interesting thing about their technology is that it was designed to be perfect and efficient, she explained to the Joint Chiefs of Staff during their first briefing on Earth's new capabilities. But perfection leaves no room for adaptation or creativity. Once we learned how their systems work, we could improve them in ways that the original designers never imagined. Captain Morrison was promoted to admiral and given command of the first human fleet to be built using hybrid human-alien technology. The ships looked like nothing that had ever existed before, combining Zephyrian engineering with human design principles that emphasized flexibility, adaptability, and the ability to be modified by their crews using whatever materials were available. These ships are designed to be improved by the people who operate them, Morrison explained to his new crew, which included both human personnel and Zephyrian volunteers who had decided to stay on Earth rather than return to their empire. Instead of trying to be perfect, they are designed to be better tomorrow than they are today. Ben Collins discovered that his quantum communication company was now in possession of interstellar technology patents that made him the richest person in human history. More importantly, his communication network had become the foundation for humanity's expansion into space. Within months, Earth went from being isolated in their solar system to operating the galaxy's most advanced communication system. The funny thing is that we built our network to connect people and share information, Collins said during a press conference that was broadcast to 17 different star systems simultaneously. The aliens brought us technology that can reach across the galaxy instantly. Now we can connect not just every human but potentially every intelligent species in this part of the universe. Maya Chen became the youngest person ever to receive the Presidential Medal of Freedom, though she insisted that the real heroes were the millions of ordinary people who had contributed their skills, knowledge, and creativity to humanity's impossible victory. Her acceptance speech was broadcast throughout the galaxy via the hijacked Zephyrian communication network. What we learned during the invasion is that the most powerful weapon in the universe is not advanced technology or superior firepower, she said, looking directly into cameras that were transmitting her words to alien civilizations she had never imagined. The most powerful weapon is the willingness to work together to solve problems that seem impossible. Dr. Rodriguez sent the final message of the conflict to every civilization within communication range of Earth's new quantum network. It was simple, direct, and would become legendary throughout the galaxy as the most effective deterrent to aggressive action ever transmitted. Earth welcomes peaceful contact and cultural exchange with all intelligent species, the message began. However, we strongly recommend that any civilization considering hostile action review the recent experiences of the Zephyrian Empire's invasion fleet. Side effects of attacking Earth may include technological assimilation, strategic confusion, involuntary surrender, and requests for technical support from species you intended to conquer. The message included detailed recordings of the entire invasion, showing how humanity had turned a hopeless defense into a teaching opportunity that left everyone involved better off than they had been before the conflict started. 6 months after the invasion, Commander Vexthul worked as a consultant for Earth's Space Defense Initiative, helping to design defensive systems that combined the best of both human and Zephyrian technology. He often told visiting alien dignitaries about his experience during what had become known throughout the galaxy as the most educational military defeat in recorded history. "We came to Earth expecting to conquer a primitive world with superior technology and overwhelming force," he would explain to delegations of aliens who wanted to understand how humanity had achieved the impossible. Instead, we discovered that the most dangerous species in the galaxy is one that treats an existential threat as an engineering problem and somehow manages to make everyone better off in the process, including the people who started the fight. The Galactic Council officially recognized Earth as a protected world not because of their military might, but because 3 different alien species had attempted invasions and all had ended up asking humanity for technical support instead of achieving their original goals. The running joke throughout the galaxy became that the best way to upgrade your technology was to attack Earth and wait for them to accidentally improve all your systems while defending themselves. Earth had announced itself to the galaxy not as conquerors, but as the species that could turn any challenge into an opportunity for everyone involved to learn something new.